Hello, welcome back to Jacob's Book Store, where I'm Jacob and I'm in a book corner, and that is Kitten Ty. Yep, normally I say hi to my unicorns, but they're low on the ground, so these are my top unicorns, and we're gonna be reading these two books. What are these? These are the Elder Scroll books. Now, technically, book 3 is not currently out yet, so we're not reading the whole trilogy. There is supposedly going to be a book 3, but it's taking place during the Darkest Power series, and so that is, the Darkest Powers is the next trilogy, so it's after The Last Hours, and so that book won't be coming out until like 2022, 2023, depending on where in that series it is set. So, the first two books do take place in different timelines. I just want to reiterate, there's no spoilers. From after reading the first one, I just think the Mortal Instruments, but do know that the Infertile Vices could be spoiled for you. I have yet to find any references strictly back to that time. Just a few like little nods and stuff, nothing too major where it would be like a huge spoiler or anything. I guess the big thing is that there is the main character. A main character does show up from those books and this book, but it's a main character who's really prevalent through a lot of Mortal Instruments anyways, by the time you need to read to. So yeah, I'd also like to mention that I thought the Red Scrolls of Magic took place during the events right after Magnus and Bane get together. Magnus and Bane. That's one person. Alec and Magnus. I'm going to be spoiling the Mortal Instruments for you. I'm only going to be spoiling up to, I think, book 4. I don't think I'm spoiling book 4, but the first 3 books for sure, maybe parts of book 4. So just be aware. And also, following this non-spoiler review, there will be full-on spoilers for all these books going forward. Mostly more likely just a talking discussion of them, not like a full-on with vlog my experience. Just to give you a heads up so you guys are prepared. Alright, the first book, and the book we're going to start with, the book I'm going to kind of tell you about in a non-spoilery fashion, my thoughts and opinions on it. I'll come back and I'll do the same thing for that one because they technically are two entities, they just follow the same couple. This follows Alec and Magnus as they head off to Paris for their first romantic getaway after the end of the Valentine War. I don't remember what that's called, but just know Valentine is gone. That's the end of book 3 for you. And them. And I just really love this book. This was a 5 stars, perfect for me. I'm gonna get into great details the reason why, but just know the writing here is phenomenal. I don't know if that's Wesley Chu, I don't know if that's Cassandra Clare, I don't know if it's because we're going back into a world where Cassandra Clare really didn't know what she was doing because we were only 3 books in by that point, and now she knows characters from from the back of her hand, and she can fully write them beautifully. Also, I don't think I've ever read anything from Wesley Chu, and so I was really kind of excited for that. I also even like the narrator, which is a controversial opinion. From what I can understand, that certain people really like this, other people really don't like this. So this is a really off the pack. Also, I would have to say that unless you don't care about Magnus and Alec, like you don't care about Malik at all, I wouldn't really recommend the book. There really isn't anything here for you unless you care about the couple. That's my non-spoilers for you, for you non-spoiler people. So this follows Alec and Magnus, like I said, on their first rendezvous point. I'm going to insert a clip of me here. I wanted to come in here and give you guys an update. Hope you guys can hear me. I normally don't film outside, but I'm having lunch, so I figured I could. Why not? I've been reading the first book in the, Bing, the Magnus and Alec, Red Scrolls of Magic, that's what it's called. It's on screen. I don't know why I was trying to find it. And I love it. Oh my god, do I love it. I think this is a 5-star. I think this is going to be one of my new favorites in the series, which I think is really, really unpopular. And yeah, I just want to come in here and tell you guys how much I love it. The line deliveries are phenomenal. I really enjoy the audiobook, which I know is extremely, almost everybody hates the audiobook and narrator, and yet it's really working for me. I don't know why. I didn't really like him when I first started either. I think if you speed it up too fast, he's too annoying, but I think 2.5, 2.6 is like a really good speed for him, which is where I'm listening to. And the story's phenomenal. It's really rom-com-y, which I really just enjoy. It's very steamy, which I also very much enjoy. I just love the characters of Magnus and Alec, and it just really shows me how much I love this timeline more than I love the previous timeline, which is the prequel timeline. And I just think that's only because of the fact that Magnus and Alec, I just read more from them, you know? I don't think that has anything against Chain of Gold. I just didn't care for it, but I really do love Clockwork Angel, and I think this is probably just as good, which is weird because dual books, her dual ones, I normally don't enjoy as much. Sometimes you can really tell which stories are written by Cassie Clare and which ones are written by. And I think this one just flows really nicely. I think the writing is just really well here. So yeah, I love it. I'll go in more in-depth detail. I do believe we're just going to jump to the second book and do both books in this one video. So I hope you guys enjoy that idea. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to have lunch. Just want to come in here and update you guys. Hi past Jacob. Okay, now let's talk about future Jacob. And I'm gonna talk about my opinions here. Now, I did do an excellent job quoting myself on Goodreads this time around, which I feel pretty proud about. I feel pretty proud about. Most Container Clear books, I'm pretty good about telling you guys my experiences while I read them, because I read them at work. 96% of the time, I read the whole thing at work, and so like it's just no point. And well, if the weather stays nice, maybe I'll be update you guys in the middle of the day like I did for this book as well for the next one. But for Red Scrolls of Magic, like I said, this takes place after the events of the Valentine's War at the end of Book 3, City of City Fallen Angels, City of Glass. So Magnus and Alec are together. They've been together for a while. He kisses Alec and they run off together. So there are backwards tracking going back into moments we didn't get to see. One's between Alec and his father and him telling him not to be gay and basically shield his sexuality for a better life. That made me cry at work. How fun. Then we also have moments of Magnus's past as well. And this brings me into my next comment, and I don't have the book, so I'm just going to put this down and put it on the screen. I highly recommend, I call it the Bane Diaries. It's called the Bane Chronicles. There's so many stories in here that are mainly referenced in this book, which makes me think Wesley Chu maybe worked on that as well. And I love the Bane Chronicles so much. I love Magnus as a character, and I don't think I'd love Magnus as a character as much as I personally do if it wasn't for the Bane Chronicles. So I highly recommend you check out this. It's phenomenal. I love it to death, like I said, and I think it really is worth your time. So if you do want to get one more in depth into that story, like I said, there's, like for instance, they talk about Peru in this book. They talk about Ragnar and Raphael. And Ragnar and Raphael, I would not have cared about as characters. I know that from experience. And it wasn't for that book. Because of their relationships to Magnus and the way, like for instance, there's a moment here, Raphael, where he's like defending Magnus's honor, essentially to Alec and saying, you better not kill him, because obviously this is before all the beautiful stuff that happens later on in the series, which I'm not going to spoil for you. It was a gorgeous and beautiful moment, but the problem here is that if you don't know Raphael in that sense of way, I don't think you would understand it. I think you would really feel like it's out of character, but it's really not out of character because of Raphael and Magnus's relationship, which I'm not going to spoil for you because it's beautiful. And it hurts my soul for what's going to happen later on. I'm not going to spoil that either, because technically I can only spoil the first 3 books. This follows them as they are hunting down a cult, which I love me a good cult, so I really like that aspect of this book as well. But they're hunting down a cult because supposedly Magnus started a cult in Rome. I want to say. It's still a rom-com-y travel book, which I enjoy. There's the 25% mark. They're on a train, and it's beautiful, and I loved it. And they're so cute, and it's so steamy, guys. Oh, the steam is off the chart here. The sex scenes are kind of graphic, and it's mostly just humping, but it was a good humping, you know? And I don't even know how to rate that. It's like a 4, maybe. Nah, I'd say it's like a 3. It's a 3 on the hot level, you know what I mean? Very good, very steamy. You definitely know what's going on. It's very well choreographed. I really liked it. And that includes the action as well. Lots of it throughout the book. In the beginning of the book, I was like, oh, I kind of want this to be more like a rom-com, them traveling the globe together, because they're just so cute. And I've never seen Alec so human. I had talked about this in a future book. I don't know what review that was in. But by the end of a certain point, I felt like Alec became a character for being gay. And seeing this makes me kind of rethink that. Also makes me want to reread these, but that's besides the point. And so now I don't really think it's a character anymore, and I just personally feel like maybe that's how his character developed because he is around Magnus and he's just getting more comfortable with himself. And I don't think that's thoroughly explored because he's not a main character in the actual series very well in the Mortal Instruments and the Dark Artifice and stuff, which is sad. But for instance, in the Bane Chronicles, everything with Magnus and Alec were my favorite. During the scenes with Tales of the Shadowhunter, all my favorites were that. They don't really pop up in Ghost Shadow Market. I just really love this book. I like the writing. I like how each character was really, really well defined. Every character splashed. It was Jace giving romantic advice without realizing it. It was Isabel saying that the reason why there isn't Colts in New York is because it's too expensive. I love it. I just love it. I think it's I just freaking loved it, okay? I loved it. Like, when I got done reading it, I was like, gosh, I want to reread this already. That's how much I loved it. It was exactly what I wanted, which is so weird because I didn't hate Chain of Iron. Chain of Gold. I just didn't like it, and I just want more of this. So I'm really excited because I'm going to be reading another one of these really soon. But yeah, that's my opinions on Red Skulls of Magic. Like, I really did like the mystery, by the way. I kind of guessed it was their friend running around with them who was running the whole cult thing. I really liked the introduction and even more of a thorough portrayal of him and his father going back to the moment when his mother died and that he killed his dad because of his stepdad, because of his biological father being, you know, Alzar. It starts with the name. And because he forced him to do it, and how he was proud of him, and how that actually made me cry, because I was like, oh my god, you're proud of him? But also, like, you're proud of him, you stupid demon? So yeah. Also, the demons are always hilarious when they're around Magnus. I don't know why, but they always have a quick little, like a little quirk, and I just love it. So, this was a win for me. This was a win. This was a great win. I'm very excited. My expectations were low, forewarning. Maybe that's why. Because I heard some really interesting things about it before I read it. They're also relatively short, which was nice. They're only read it. Took me like 6 hours to read, which was not that bad for a concentric card book. First off, I want to quickly come in here and give you guys a non-spoiler review for The Lost Book of the White, which is book 2 of the Elder Curses. And book 2 follows Magnus and Alec after the events of the Mortal Instruments. And by the events of Mortal Instruments, I truly mean, like, if you're going to read Tales of Shadowhunters, which I do highly recommend. It was a phenomenal collection of short stories. You need to read it all before you pick up Elder Scrolls. Technically, this is, you would read Tales of Shadowhunters, then this, and then you would read The Dark Artifice, if you're looking for, like, a timeline. So, I am going to be speaking here with slight spoilers for any of the Mortal Instruments, and like I said, also for that book, because it is directly spoiled here. Just a slight extra spoiler for The Dark Artifice. There is a character in here that is supposedly that you don't know is alive, and you won't even, if you're just reading The Dark Artifice, you have never read the Mortal Instruments, you don't really care, then it doesn't really matter. But if you're really invested and you don't really want to know, then I'd recommend reading this after you read The Dark Artifice, so the big reveal wouldn't be there. I'm not going to spoil who the character is, just know it's pretty clear within, like, the first, I think, chapter of the book, so you do get spoiled very quickly. So I'm just not going to put it here. 2 mysterious people show up in Magnus's house, and this is after they have Max and stuff, and he is stabbed, and these things start to grow. Clary has a vision, and they end up heading off to Shanghai to chase down this. They end up visiting a few other places, which is really cool, and you have the whole cast of characters that you love and adore, and I did eventually give it a 5 out of 5 stars. I absolutely adore this book. I absolutely adore the series. It's probably my favorite Shadowhunter series. Now, if I would have just read these and not read Shadowhunters, I would have been like, these are trash. Probably not trash. It's not great. Maybe like a 3, maybe even a 2. But because I love Magnus and Alec, and I love just the banter and the characters and stuff, I couldn't recommend enough. The first part of this book, I'm gonna be able to talk to you because I'm listening to it while I work on stuff. And the prologue was phenomenal. I miss Ragnar so much. I can't wait till he comes back. Second thing, sorry. It's the truth. The second thing is they have Max. Oh my god, I'm not going to be able to handle this book. Oh, okay. Just had to prepare for that. They have Max, little green Max. Oh, I love Max. Okay, that's it. That's all I got for you. Alright, so, quickly come in here to tell you that they just spoiled basically Tales from Shadowhunters and a few other things, which I was really shocked about. But also, did you guys know this book, I guess it does take place in 2010. I guess I didn't realize Lady Midnight takes place in 2012. Whereas I was thinking that this book would take place in 2012. It doesn't. So that is shocking to me, but okay, back to reading. The Lost Book of the White, which is book 2 in the Elder's Curses series, which is Alec and Magnus's. I'd update you guys at work, and so basically at work today, I read from page 43 to page 314, so I read that big old chunk. And the book expires tomorrow morning at like 1:14. It's like 10 something at night right now. I technically have 2 hours left, but you have to cut that or whatever. So it's a little less. I think it's probably a little under an hour that I have left, and so I'm just gonna kind of update you guys. Not full-on thoughts and opinions, because there's a lot that happened here. There's a lot of funny moments. And also, I'd say, in the beginning of the book, the first characters that I did not like throughout was Jace. I'm just so used to brooding Jace, mean Jace, nice, horrible Jace, and this is, like, a totally different, like, go-lucky Jace. So, I found that to be really interesting. Something else this book deals with is the exploration of grief and also what shadow hunters mean by grief. This is obviously thoroughly explored in the Dark Artifice to a greater extent, but this is a shorter book. It's not really the main topic here. This follows Simon after he gets out of Tale of Shadow Hunters, which you do. You get spoiled for here, so if you want to read it, I don't recommend you read this just yet. Read that. You get spoiled for really early on, so like it's fine. It's like you'll know when you get spoiled for it. Like it's in that first like 100 pages. His best friend who he meets there, who he grows a close bond with, does not actually get to accept the runes, and he ends up dying during the ceremony in front of him, who he was going to originally be paired tie with. Then he went to be paired tie with Clary, and he is horribly tortured in this book again, and it sends him into like a mental breakdown, saying, "What's the point of this? What's the point of this?" And they didn't really get like an answer. Everybody has their own different version of the answer. Also, I'd like to mention that this cover, which is gorgeous, I'm just going to put it out there, is a lot more literal than you think. So this book itself takes place in between the events of the Dark Artifice, like the last mortal instruments in the Dark Artifice. So City of Heavenly Fire in that one. So basically the whole entire like Valentine's son, I can't think of his name off the top of my head, that whole war is over. Their friend from the last book, who I definitely couldn't remember yesterday, and I'm really tired. I've only slept for 3 hours, so I definitely can't remember her name right now. As soon as her name pops up, I'll tell you. She shows up with Ragnar Fell, which Ragnar, who you know I love, and I do love again. It took me a very long time in this book to love. And he's a very main character here. They show up and they basically just attack Magnus and Alec, and he ends up getting stabbed by a thorn. He ends up getting stabbed by a thorn later on in the book during part 2 as well, and these chains and stuff are coming through his hands. He now has like spike balls coming through his hands. He has a tail. His teeth, he's turning into a monster, essentially. And this is what Clary had predicted. She had a dream, and she hadn't had a dream since. And she has a dream saying, "I see you in chains." And so, basically, the first 2/3 of this book is them going on a hunt to try to figure out where Ragnar is. Magnus truly believes that Ragnar is not the actor behind this, and that he doesn't believe in this. And so, yeah. And essentially, they go through Shanghai is where they end up going, because they are tracking Ragnar to Shanghai. They meet a character named, I want to say it's Jem, but it's not Jem. Jem is in this book. Tessa's not in this book. All the whole entire like Mortal Instruments cast is in this book. It's like Jam or Jim or something. It's under those lines. It's very similar. It's Jem's like great grandson or something, and he's older. And he gives him a tour, and he takes them around. He ends up being a bad guy, but he also ends up being a good guy. So it's like a double cross type of situation. Either way, he ends up leading them into the Hell Dimension, which is by far one of my favorite places. The Hell Dimension is hilarious, and also the very big bad in here is also hilarious. Unlike Magnus's father in the last book, who was very serious, this dude just like chilling. He's like, yeah, I like to eat worlds, but guess what? I'm not gonna eat them today. So if you guys want to go home, you guys can go home. You know, I'll come see you, and also there's a good chance you probably won't make it out. And he goes and he tortures, one of the first things he does is he takes Simon away, and he tortures Simon because he ends up killing Lilith during book 5. I want to say it's during book 5. He kills Lilith because of the mark. Yeah, because he doesn't have the mark in book 6. Because that's how, yeah. Okay, that makes sense. I think. It's been a long time since I've read the Mortal Instruments. And so he ends up torturing him to get, to kill Lilith. And somehow, well, at some point, Isabel also gets detracted by zombies, essentially. And she ends up coming in through, like, a flying tiger. Is that what it is? I think it's a flying tiger. And saving everybody and so forth. And Magnus is obviously getting more powerful, but he's also turning into, like, this creature. And Alec and Magnus end up signing the bond where they can share each other's powers. This was made during City of Heavenly Fire by Clary. It's one of the most powerful runes, and it's basically being able to share, like, a Downworld's powers with a human, or a Shadow Hunter, not a human. They're angel blood as well. And they're really nervous about this because they weren't really sure what it was going to do to Alec, but it ends up being just fine. And he ends up going off and finding Ragnar, and they end up eventually getting these 2 swords before they go to the Hell Dimension. And 2 swords are like brothers, essentially, or lovers, or whatever you want to call them. And they bind together. And so one is given to Magnus, one is given to Alec. Alex is there simply if Magnus goes crazy, and he ends up losing the void of his soul. Alec can kill Magnus, and this will do it. This will kill the demon. And I think what the lady was trying to tell them when giving the swords away, I think it was actually going to kill the demon inside Magnus and not Magnus himself. And yet the vision didn't show him that, and that they just wanted a recognition saying, hey, if this happens, will you do it? And he does. Well, Magnus, because Magnus is Magnus, goes and saves Ragnar Fell. He ends up combining the two swords, and they end up plunging into Ragnar Fell's heart, breaking the curse from Ragnar Fell, essentially saving Ragnar, which I adore, and the relationship is so cute. I'd also like to just, mention, there's been, 2 or 3 moments with Max while they've been on this journey, because his parents are watching them. Well, it's actually just his mom, Alex's mom, watching him at the Institute, and he's, crawling around on pipes and stuff above the ceilings, and they're freaking out, and they're like, you didn't prepare us for this, and they're like, we try to tell you, and you just were like, let's do it, and we were like, do you really want to do it? And it's adorable, and I just love Max. I just love Max so much, and he's so happy. He, wants to do these things, and he doesn't understand because he's part warlock and stuff. It's just so great. I love it. So I'd say a lot of my problems I've had with this have been retconned by the end. I do have to say this is a pretty big journey, but I think the way they could get around it, because this is written after the Dark Artifice, obviously, is the simple fact it's not really brought up in the Dark Artifice. I even Googled it, did I mention a reference here of this happening? And the bigger things is the portal and stuff, the other stuff, which could go back and reflect into that for sure. But with this one in particular, I have to say that it could just be their own side little story, and that, everything works out in the end, so, what's the point? And also, I have to say, if you're reading these, I highly recommend you read them in the order they go into the series. Even though Ragnar is, you figure out that he's not dead, which is a huge thing, and honestly, if you've not read The Dark Artifice, it's already a spoiler, so, I cannot talk about this book without talking about Ragnar. So that's already something if you've read this and you haven't read Dark Artifice yet. And there's only, a moment. It's at the very, very end. There's a character throughout the books. I won't tell you who. That will be a surprise. But it's really, really funny, and it's only really funny if you don't know he's alive, essentially. But it's besides the point. Other than that, one moment, this would be a great book to read before the Dark Artifice. I'm really excited to read these in the order that they take place in. Not in publication order, but in timeline order. That's the next day I'm reading all these. I'm very, very excited. By the way, I'll let you guys go. Okay, I'll update you guys when I'll update you guys when I finish it, to be honest with you. So, Simyao is a greater demon, and that's kind of who we're dealing with. He's the Prince of Hell, is essentially what the answer is. He's died a few times, he's come back. He's not a great guy. And then the other one is Shinhu. I think it's how you pronounce her name. I could be wrong. I'm very sorry. I'm horrible with pronunciation. Once I hear it again, I'll tell you. And she was in the last book. She and the person leading the cult, and Alec didn't want her dead, and so he sent her away, and obviously this is the repercussions of that little action that he decided to take. So those are the names. I just want to come in here and tell you them, because I'm sure I'll forget them again. Alright, so I have finished The Lost Book of the Light by Cassandra Clare and Wesley Chu. This is the second book in the Outer Curses. This is the middle book, I should say, but each book takes place in a different timeline, so really you can read them at any point. It doesn't really matter. There is one correlation, and that is the fact that it is kind of a sequel because of, like I said, the antagonist from the last book is the antagonist of this book. That is the only thing, but I'm really excited to talk about this. So basically, the ending of this book is you have the demon I don't remember the name of, but he is phenomenal. I really want him to pop up in the main series. He is so funny. I just adore his candor humor. He's just like, it just really hurt that Lilith doesn't love me anymore, and then she's dead, and you just really need to understand that love is real, and the epilogue was chef's kiss to me personally. But with the actual characters, Alec is the one who ends up stabbing himself with the thorn, embracing the magic, and basically breaking everything apart. And so yeah, the girl ends up going absolutely mad and insane and breaking the world down, the demon world. They are sent back into normal world, and they help fight everything like normal, like it's just generalisticness here. And Ragnar comes back, and it's great, and he goes back into hiding. Then you have this whole conversation, the aftermath of that, them going back to the New York Institute, Jace deciding to be a part of the New York Institute and running it, which is really nice. It's a nice tie into later on things. And then you also have the slight mentions from Alex's mom and the way Max went, which I really, really did enjoy as well. And then they end up going home, and they just, really share this, really cute and tender moment. And Magnus is just, he has to be reawoken, saying this is just the world we live in. I just gotta get over it. And it was phenomenal. Highly recommend the book. You know, there's a lot of shit that happens, and so like there's a lot more you're gonna get to enjoy because I summarized this in, I don't know, 12 minutes or something along those lines. Probably less than that. So yeah, I really, really enjoyed this. I think this is probably my favorite series out of, like I said, the whole entire Shadowhunters. I just love these characters so much, and every time they pop up and stuff. Also, oh my god. So this popped up like when they were in the Hell Dimension. The character, which is by far one of my favorite demons to ever pop up in the, like any of the short stories, was in the Bane Chronicles. It's the second to last, if I'm not mistaken. It's when Magnus is like, "What do I get out for his birthday?" And he pops up, and the demon pops up, and they have a whole conversation. He is in that demon world. It was phenomenal. We actually got to watch him get horribly brutalized, but that's besides the point. I love him. He's hilarious. I just adore it. All right, so let's talk about the epilogue before we talk about the short story that it's the very end as well. The epilogue is all the demon princes sitting down at a table, and they're all just mad at each other, and they all hate each other, and it's hilarious, and I just adore the humor. And they're just like, let's band together, because like the evil dude is like, they're working as a team, and it's doing great for them. Why don't we work as a team? Why haven't we thought about this? And it was phenomenal. It's totally what you would expect. And they're like, you don't mean. And then they mentioned Lucifer. I'm just like, what does that mean? Where is this going? Oh my god, I'm so excited. So, other way, I'm really, really excited to see where Lucifer ties into all this and where he ranks in the Hell Princes and Hell Lords and stuff. I'd be very curious to see that, personally. I would like to see that chart, Cassandra. Could you send that to me? That'd be great. Could you send it to someone who could post it on the internet? That'd also be great, because I'm sure you're not watching this video. Not because you don't have other things. You have many other things to do. Either way, not important. And what else is there? Oh, then there's a short story. Jem and Tessa, like I said, are throughout the whole story. Well, Tessa isn't, but normally Jem is. And he's talking about how he really wants to get married, but he doesn't want to get married, and they don't know where a place to get married because it's still kind of like against the law. It's very much against the law, since that stuff is not resolved for a while, since it's against the law. And so Magnus still has a little bit of that demon power in him, and he throws a dream wedding, a physical dream wedding, and it was phenomenal. It was cute, and I liked it. And yeah, if you care about Gem Test at all, you'll like it too. I highly recommend you stand for the ending. But guys, that's the Elder Curses. Book 1 and Book 2, they were both phenomenal. My gosh, did I sleep on these? And I can't wait to reread them. If you guys enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up, don't comment below. Hit subscribe button, I'll see you all next time for another video. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.